Good evening, everyone. My name is Francine Reva Jones, and I am the chairperson for the Riverbay 2022 Election Committee. Welcome to the third and final forum. The candidates, the election committee, and the Riverbay technicians and engineers have worked very hard to bring these three forums to the co-op city community. I apologize for any technical problems that you might have had or are having, and for having last-minute changes. The forum will be rebroadcast for your convenience in helping you make the choices that you need to make for your voting. Thank you to the cooperators who emailed questions to Riverbay 2022 election at riverbaycorp.com. I will now introduce the 2022 Fantastic Election Committee. We have Denise Gerald, Marita Taylor, John Gale.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Sandy Krasnow,
Good evening.
Yvonne Allen,
Good evening.
Jerasia Wilson, and Dorian King. The election committee attorney is Jeffrey Buss of Smith, Buss, and Jacob.
Evening, everyone.
And now Attorney Buss will continue with the forum rules and other important information.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you for once again joining us. I wanted to give all the people watching and the candidates an update. We've started to receive votes, electronic votes, but not mail votes yet. We don't know who people have voted for, but we do know that we've only had 196 votes cast from Monday till now. So if you're watching, I hope you vote. You can vote electronically on your phone, and you can also vote, on your computer, and you can certainly mail in your ballot. So please turn out and let's vote and support this great group of fellow shareholders and neighbors that are working and volunteering their time to serve as one of your directors. With that being said, each candidate is going to be allowed to give an opening statement and a closing statement. In the middle, we have questions that have been forwarded by shareholders or some of the committee members, and we're going to ask candidates to answer those questions. And I forget how many minutes each candidate has for an opening statement. Francine, is it a minute and a half, or is it for opening statement? You recall? I don't.
2 minutes. 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Thank you, Ms. Gerard. Okay. So with that being said, Francine, I'm turning it back over to you.
Ivy Gaynor is trying to be admitted. If anybody can contact her.
If people could mute their background because we hear other voices, and Nate, if you could admit Ms. Gaynor, she's one of the candidates, please.
Well, she says she doesn't have the ID number.
Okay, I don't see anybody in the hallway there. Let me see.
Can we forward her the login information while the rest of us are going forward? And I'll see if I can do that too.
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
Listen, can somebody just send in the chat her email address?
Yes, I'll do that with you. So let's just continue while we, because we
Okay.
have plenty of candidates to give opening statements.
Yeah, candidates, please note that you will have a 2-minute opening statement, and you'll get a warning when you have 30 minutes left to speak. And you will have a 90-minute closing statement, and you will get a warning when you have 15 seconds left to speak. And answering your questions, you'll have 90 seconds, and you'll get a warning when you have 15 seconds left to speak. Your cooperation is appreciated. Now we will have the opening statements, and since Raymond is not here, we'll have Lynette Wright.
Thank you.
Good evening, Co-op City. If you listened carefully to previous forums, you heard mention of our expenditures being more than our operating income can bear, potentially making our homes unaffordable. But then you heard, but we should have a waterfront park. In the April 10th, 2021 edition of the Co-op City Times, we were informed that the 2% budget increase resolution was passed. The 2% included 1.2% that was for a waterfront park, a non-essential project. Was there concern then about being affordable? This was during a pandemic when many of you were trying to find jobs and simply trying to survive. My team is adamantly against projects like this being placed on the budget as an operating expense or using money from our refinance loan to fund the proposed $10 million park. We have more important issues to address. Money for the parks should be coming from grants and discretionary funds, not out of shareholders' pockets. In a few weeks, many will be experiencing convector leak, and then we'll wait months for repairs to be done. Do you want those who don't appreciate the definition of affordable being responsible for your money? Requesting a waterfront park shows nothing more than financial negligence, poor prioritization, and a lack of concern for shareholders' needs. A candidate for a director should be able to listen, do their research, and vote accordingly, not run on adopted agendas. We need common sense in the boardroom, not individual interests. My team is committed to going through the budget thoroughly and removing non-essential projects. Viewpoints from my teammate Rod Saunders shows a history of speaking out against this type of budgetary bloating. To keep Co-op City in middle-income community and put shareholders first, vote for me, Lynette Wright, Blossom Johns, Jacqueline Smith, and re-elect Rod Saunders to the Riverbay Board of Directors. Because we, Co-op City, are stronger together. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynette Wright. Now we have Blossom John.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Recently, we refinanced our mortgage loan to help us pay for critical improvement and essential repairs that will ensure the 50-year plus of our complex to be safe and secure. I would be remiss if I did not thank Helen Atkins, the president of Riverbay Board in 2012, who had the courage and foresight to place her signature on the loan documents insured by her that kept us afloat and ensured we would remain affordable complex for the next 35 years. This set a precedence in the history of HUD that had never happened before. Without that historic moment in 2012, we would not be able to secure this current amount. The recent refinance has made it possible for us to begin to have a second chance at remaining affordable. But let's be clear, the money is for capital improvements. We still have to keep an eye on operating expenses. At a recent open gallery session, we were informed that we may still possibly have carrying charging increases due to operating expenses. I'm asking for your vote for the proactive, stronger together team. We will follow how our dollars are spent, ask the right questions, and ensure our operating budget and the new refinance capital money is not spent on non-essential items, but going forward, used for what is intended for: capital repairs on convectors, facades, electrical systems, and monitor expenditures so that our maintenance fees do not have to be increased. Vote for the stronger together team that will not mislead you but share the facts to be transparent as possible and give the opportunity to provide feedback. For instance, not mislead shareholders with surveys, then counting them as votes justifying a water park. Vote for the stronger together team that knows the difference between a survey and a vote, so that when you ask or question for an assessment purposes, not counted as a definitive approval. I'm humbly asking for your vote for Blossom Johns, incumbent Rod Saunders, Jacqueline Smith, and Lynette Wright. We are stronger together. Thank you.
Thank you, Blossom John.
Thank you.
Move on to Mary Pearson.
Hello, everybody. Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Jackson once told her former law clerk, "You can't always expect to be the smartest person in the room, but you can promise to be the hardest working." Today, I'm going to spend my 2 minutes talking about the ad hoc bus committee. In 2019, when the MTA threatened Co-op City with massive bus cuts, I read the 147-page MTA redesign draft at least a dozen times. I went to MTA meetings across the borough. I wrote about it in my viewpoints, and I started pointing putting together an alternative proposal. And that was all before Andy Byford came to the board, before the demonstration, and before the ad hoc committee was formed. I felt unwelcome at the first ad hoc committee meeting I attended, so I left the group alone. A month later, on July 26th, about 2 weeks before the presentation was due, I went to check up on them. Outreach was going great, but some other stuff, not so much. I was shown the proposal. It had pictures, it talked about issues with the current bus service, had 20 pages of bus routes and stops and suggestions, a page of testimonials, and about 5 pages of actual proposal that needed a lot of work. I gave it an expanded title. I gave it a slogan, a common sense approach to bus service, trading some frequency from 1C travel, more coverage, less overlapping, and speedier rides. And each time I finished a section of the proposal, I emailed it to Lynette and Blossom for Lynette to put into the finished product. Communications broke down. I was accused of not working fast enough. I was kicked off the committee. You can read all about it, all the facts, and all the ugly on my Facebook page, Indivisible Co-op City. I also list my past viewpoints covering many of the subjects in these forums on the Indivisible Co-op City page, but if you don't have access, you can find it at issue.com. Email me and I'll send you the links. Thank you very much. I feel much better now.
Thank you, Mary Pearson.
You're welcome.
Next up is Ezekiel Springer Jr.
I'm Ezekiel Springer. I ask for your vote for a seat on the Riverbay Board. Some think we shouldn't waste money on a waterfront park, while other projects like the convectors need to be dealt with. Cost-effective solutions for our convectors needs to happen pronto. However, beautification is vital for our quality of life. Monies for the park and convectors don't come from the same pot. It's apples and oranges. With creative budgeting and acquiring funds from city, state, and federal, we can do both within reason. Don't be distracted into thinking otherwise. The Spirit of Co-op City team can walk and chew gum. Through Congressman Jamal Bowman's office, Riverbay has already received a $500,000 grant earmarked for the park. To make Co-op City vibrant requires $2 million more. The Buffalo Bills received $850 million in public funds. Tell me the state can't provide $2 million more for our park. At least we can ask. Concerning the convectors, the engineering study is in progress. Preliminary cost analysis estimates a price tag of $400 million. This falls under capital projects. Under the leadership of the Coalition to Save Affordable Housing, the board was instrumental in securing refinance funds of $124 million for other capital projects. Senator Bowman recognized all levels of government should again come to bat for Co-op City and seek new refinancing for the convectors when the study is complete. Money for the waterfront park and convector overhaul exists. We need to be creative and ask for it. Bless me, Michelle, Monique, Aisha, Ivy, the Spirit of Co-op City team with your vote, and we will.
Thank you. Thank you, Ezekiel Springer Jr. Ivy, I think Ivy Gaynor is on, but I'll let her get herself ready. And we'll move along to Aisha Hernandez Ahmed. Unmute yourself.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Aisha Hernandez Ahmed. I was born in Puerto Rico and raised in Puerto Rico. I was born in Puerto Rico, raised in New York. I am a shareholder since 2016. My professional background is business administration. I was the chief of staff to New York City Council. I have government and business and private experience. I believe in keeping Co-op City affordable through grants, fundraising, and that I can make that happen. I support the Co-op City Park. I was the president of the Bronx Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. I received the grant of $10,000 during the first year by the United States Chamber of Commerce based in Washington, D.C. for my work. That's $10,000 just for my work alone, less than 1 year. I raised $650,000 for the Puerto Rican Bar Association Scholarship Fund. That's $650,000 that we gave to students to study law. And my property management portfolio consisted of 13 properties, including dollars. And that's millions of dollars that I've worked with in the past. My investment portfolio consists of $180,000. I'm sorry, $180 million in estate and investments. I received a grant from the New York Yankees, the nonprofit organization, for $25,000 for a period of 5 years. So they committed to $25,000 to give to a nonprofit organization that I wrote the grant for 5 years, and they extended it another 5 years after those 5 years. I also received a $750,000 grant for education from the Henry George School of Social Sciences for small business owners. These owners were able to close their businesses on weekends and go and study, take finance.
You said your time is up. You can probably finish it in your closing statement. Okay, so moving forward, we have Rod Saunders.
To the members of the committee, to our fellow shareholders tuned in, to Riverbay Board candidates, good evening. First, I want to take a moment to reflect on the second historic $621.5 million loan that we got here in Co-op City. I think it's wonderful because we have fluctuating prices that continue to trend higher, and the essential infrastructure demands that we have here in Co-op City are going to be great going forward. Without the very first $621.5 million loan, as Blossom spoke about before, that was guaranteed when our former board president, Helen Atkins, signed for it, we wouldn't have the second bite of the apple right now. I'd also like to thank our management team headed by Bob Kleehammer, our legal counsel, Jeff Buss, and Wells Fargo, Kathy Farris, who actually first began talking about this financial agreement to the board back in September of 2020. With this refinancing, Riverbay Corporation, of course, will be able to take advantage of both the existing capital needs like the local law 11 facade, work on our townhouses, existing buildings and underground piping, and work that's identified under the loan agreement. But we need to be focused on essential items. The shareholders in this community should not have to continually be burdened with having to pay our carrying charge increases because it's the easy way out. Our collective wallets are not the easy way out. Affordability cannot continue unless we work towards it together. You know, since April of 2021, I've been talking to this community about this waterfront park. I'm not against the waterfront park. What I am against is the fact that this community took a survey. A survey is not a vote. A survey is a barometer of what people think they need. It was taken pre-pandemic. Since the pandemic, things have changed. We needed to go back and ask the shareholders. It's not about walking and chewing at the same time. It's about giving shareholders respect. Survey asks a question without facts. Survey is not a vote. Shareholders should be given the opportunity to vote, just like board elections and changes in our corporate bylaws. Thank you.
Sorry, thank you. Okay, next we have Monique Coleman.
Thank you. I'm Monique Coleman, and I've lived in Co-op City for more than 30 years. I'm an insurance professional by day with more than 20 years of experience. I've been a sitting board member since October of 2021. I have the advantage of bringing a fresh perspective to the board. I have no entanglements. I care about minding our pocketbooks and protecting the future of our community. My priorities are accountability, affordability, and autonomy. Some of the wins and lessons learned during my time as a board member is that I've chaired the insurance committee and saved the corporation more than $800,000. I demonstrated that we could slow escalating costs and fees by being an engaged consumer. I joined the audit committee, which monitors the condition of the corporation. And our current work in progress is to audit all major departments to improve efficiencies and eliminate redundancies. Shareholders, we own Co-op City. We are not renters. And like other homeowners, we're accountable for ensuring that our community continues to be a great place to live. What happens here is our decision, and we need to preserve and embrace the privilege. I still have work to do. I support the waterfront park. I also want to work on breaking up the cable monopoly. Our contract with Optimum and Altice expires in 2024, and I believe that a community of our size should have more choices. High-speed, high-quality broadband is an essential service, and internet is our right. We should not be beholden to conglomerates that charge high fees for content and streaming. I've presented a high-quality, affordable internet service option to management for their consideration, and we'll see what happens. Fingers crossed.
Thank you, Monique. Thank you. Next up, we'll have Jacqueline Smith.
Good evening, shareholders and fellow candidates. Hello, my name is Jacqueline Smith, and I am running for a seat on the Riverbay Board of Directors. I'm running with 3 exceptional individuals that are transparent, outstanding, dedicated candidates. The Stronger Together team share the same dream for Co-op City, a mission with a vision, consisting of a bright, thriving future, advanced by board transparency, an adopted convector flooding resolution, an approved CCPD community policing policy, a biannual orientation for new shareholders so they could feel that sense of ownership, and a 21st century restoration fair for longtime cooperatives such as myself. I've lived in Co-op City for 50 years. I think the apartment needs to be upgraded. No to the water park. Yes to the community voting. You know, I had the privilege of listening in on, I believe it was the HUD meeting in October or November, I'm not sure. And we never really got a direct answer that if the water park had come out of the last budget, did we really need that 1 point something increase? And I was on that call with a lot of shareholders and they were all asking that same question. And then all of a sudden it became an issue, an item. Did we really need the last increase if the water park had come out of the budget? I'm not against green stuff. That's why I stayed in Co-op City. That's why I'm going to retire here. I love the beautiful green grass, all the walkways and the beautiful trees. It's just that right now the buildings have the privilege of getting all their bricks replaced. I live in the townhouse, all the townhouse areas, we're patiently waiting our turn. We need the front of the townhouses replaced. When it rains, this heavy brown stuff comes down. I understand, I think it maybe last year they passed a resolution. It might be in the next budget, or it might have to be pushed to the next budget. I'm not sure, I'm not privy to that data. But if I'm elected to the board, I too support fiscal responsibility.
Thank you, Jacqueline Smith. Cooperation, please. Okay, next we have Ivy Gaynor. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Thank
you. Hi, my name is Ivy Gaynor, and I'm with the team Spirit of Co-op City. And I agree that we should have a water park. And I think we are a team of people who have a lot of expertise in bringing about some of the things that are going to help enhance the quality of life here in Co-op City. One of the things some of the things that need to be done as far as repairs, we also have a problem with insurance. We have an insurance expert with us. The Spirit of Co-op City seems to be able to bring forward so many qualities and expertise from their relative backgrounds. Mine also deals with social work, and I also have some insurance background also and finance. As a finance major in college, I understand how money spends and also how to raise revenue. One of the things that I think that we should really focus on is Section 5. Section 5 needs more parking. Okay, let's not forget about them. They're part of us also. We also need quite a few other things. Let me get back. What I would like to really express is that I would like to continue with the progress of us continuing to do good work, such as we got the new elevators. We were able to get the front doors restored and upgraded. We also need the $120 million for refinancing for capital projects and operating services that we've gotten we will make sure that we get the most out of whatever it is that we're going to spend on.
Okay, Ivy Gaynor, thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Spirit of cooperative city.
And Michelle Marbury.
Greetings. I am Michelle Marbury, Second Vice President of the Riverbay Corporation, and we've put together a great team to represent you in the boardroom. Board Director Monique Coleman, newly appointed director of only 6 months, and in that short time, she has saved our corporation almost $1 million in insurance premiums. Aisha Hernandez Ahmed, a property manager of 13 properties with a portfolio net worth of $350 million. That's close to what we're asking to cover our costs for our convector project. Coalition member Ivy Gaynor, great with numbers. She was treasurer of the Coalition to Save Affordable Housing for years. And Building 32 Association Secretary Ezekiel Springer Jr., editor for the A&E Network. He's going to help us bring Section 5 out of the darkness and into the light it deserves. Those of you voting online, check out his video when you vote for him. And then you have me, Michelle Marbury. I've processed over 41 resolutions, of which Riverbay Corporation policies have been made. I'm your second vice president, and I have just begun to fight for you. I supported the grant to afford us $500,000 to pay for the Waterside Park, and I'm happy to support a grant for another $2.5 million to complete that project. We cannot, all 40,000 of us, be in the boardroom, so we elect a board of directors to be your voice. All you have to do is fill out your ballot and get it in. Kindly vote for the spirit of Co-op City. Re-elect me, Michelle Marbury, and Monique Coleman, and elect Aisha Hernandez Ahmed, Ivy Gaynor, Ezekiel Springer Jr. Somos el espíritu de Co-op City. We are the spirit of Co-op City.
Okay. Okay, now we'll move on to the question segment. And I want only the new candidates, the candidates who have not been board members before, to answer this question. Have you given much thought to how much time it takes to be a board director? If so, how many hours per week do you think an effective board director spends on board responsibilities? So that question first will go to Blossom John.
Absolutely, I thought about it. When I was asked about it, that's the first thing I said. How much time do you guys spend? Because I've heard about these board meetings that go way into the night. But I learned that being on the ad hoc committee, if you're committed to something, you have to find the time to do it. And I still work a full-time job. So if I'm elected to the board, what needs to be done, I have to be there to assess the situation and hear the facts, I'll be there. I'll make the time. Elect Blossom Johns, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Ezekiel Springer Jr.
Thank you for the question. I remember when President Bernie Silage asked me to run, and I asked him, will I have time to actually be a part of the board? And he said, yeah, it's as much as you can put in. And I live here. So I live here 24/7. So I'm going to put in 24 hours of work, 7 days a week of work. It's just that simple. The fact that I live here, I have to make these decisions not just for myself, but for the rest of Co-op City. So I can't escape. I can't run away from this. So all day, every day, not a problem. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next we'll have a word from Ivy Gaynor.
Yes, I've considered that it might be many hours that we would have to spend, and depending upon deadlines and how long it takes, I am a very conscientious person. Once I put my mind to something, I have to see it to completion. Time right now for me is not a great issue. I have time. I can give of myself. And I would like to be able to give of myself and have people know that I am trusted to trust me with making a proper decision, and my team, Spirit of Co-op City, to do what's best for us as shareholders. So please vote for us, Spirit of Co-op City. Thank you. And I'm willing to do the work.
Okay, thank you. Next up we have Aisha Hernandez Hamed.
Yes. The question was that whether I know the time that needs to be spent in the Riverbay Board. Actually, I don't know, and that's the answer, but I am willing to spend the time because I've been in many boards. I sit in the Board of Corrections for the Advisory Committee for the Federal Bureau of Prisons since 2003. I orchestrated together with a team that project, and that project is now carrying on itself. And I invested many, many hours during my working time with all the real estate, the pharmacy, and school. So I am willing to spend whatever time is necessary to get the shareholders and uphold their rights and help them with whatever the board needs.
Okay, thank you very much. And Jacqueline Smith.
Thank you for the question. Currently, I'm the finance chair for my spiritual religious organization. So I'm pretty much aware of what it takes to serve. I have a lot of background in being a trusted servant. So I'm just going to take a shot at it and say probably 30 hours a week if it's a good week. So I gave that a lot of consideration before I decided to run for a board of director. You know, the bottom line is I've just decided that I've lived here all my life and that I'm ready to be a servant to the community, which I love so much. Thank you.
Thank you. And Lynette Wright.
Yes, so very similar to Blossom, that was one of the first questions that I had asked as well. But in regards to the amount of time, we're a city within a city. This is a huge project to undertake overall. So it is necessary to have the amount of dedication that you do. You can even look to the fact of the NTA committee, which we had spoken about before. That was almost every afternoon, partially timed during the mornings. That also involved formal meetings that we had for about 3 hours a day on Tuesdays, as well as 8 hours a day on Saturdays. So to say that we don't have the time, we absolutely do. And we not only have the time, we made the time and we prioritize that. And we plan to do the same thing here today. Thank you.
Francine, you're muted.
Thank you. Jeffrey Buss, are you there?
Yes, I am, Francine.
Okay, do you have the question?
Oh, sure. Okay. Since Francine directed her last question at individuals and candidates who are not serving on the board, the next question is directed to, I believe, the 4 incumbent members of the board, and I'll take them in alphabetical order. The question is this: do you believe board members should be treated the same as all other shareholders? Or should you, as a board member, be entitled to some preferential treatment in recognition for the service that you've provided as a board member? So the first person for that question would be Ms. Coleman.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you for the question. So because I am an existing board member and I went into it with my eyes open, I know that it's an impossibility for us to be preferred over anyone else. We're not compensated for our time or our work, and we do it because we love our community. So no, I don't think, I'm not in it because I'm thinking that we're going to get something, a reward, other than the betterment of our community. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Monique. And the next person is Michelle Marbury.
Good evening again, and what a great question. I was talking with some shareholders earlier today, and one of the things I mentioned is that I am first a shareholder before anything else, and then a board director, a shareholder put here to represent you, the shareholders and partners of Riverbay Corporation. We are Riverbay, you and I, the shareholders, and I have one vote in this election and in anything else that represents Co-op City, just like you do. So I don't consider myself above or below anyone. We are all in the same playing field, blessed with the privilege of governing this property, which is a city within a city, and unique to the world with regard to Mitchell-Lamas. So no, I'm no better, no worse, but I am happy to represent you in the boardroom. So vote for the spirit of Co-op City. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Marbury. The next person is Mary Pearson.
Hi. Okay, I get a great perk. My perk is when I go to board meetings, I can park my car on the ground level in special spots that say directors only. And I've been serving as a secretary, so I can also fit that last spot that says officers only. So that's great. We do get other perks. It's like this big secret. We get a break on our cable bills. You know what? So does every elected official in the city. Do I think that's fair? I don't have time to watch it. So because I'm too busy doing board work. What else do we get? We get compensation, $100 a month, so that we can pay our telephone bill, whatever, it's free now, telephone's bill. But it's fun getting that $100. And that's it. We take an oath. We are no more important than any other shareholder. And some of us don't act that way. I sure do. The only time we have power is when the 15 of us come together and at least 8 of us vote on the same thing. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Pearson. And next, Rod Saunders, please.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Now, I don't believe that board members should be treated any differently than any other shareholder, and I've never thought that in the years that I've served as a Riverbay board director. I can tell you one thing that I've done different from any other shareholder, and that is that all the years I've been a board director, I have never missed a board meeting. I've never missed a regularly scheduled board meeting. There has been a board meeting that's been a special time, but the point that I'm making is that we dedicate ourselves, once we take that oath, or once we begin to be, even as candidates, to run for the board and we're elected to the board, we take an oath not only not to be any different from any other shareholder, but to put forth all of the ideas from individuals that we talk to, so that we can bring the best ideas and the best of Co-op City to the board. And the Stronger Together team, if elected, will do that. So I'm asking you to support Blossom Johns. I'm asking you to support Lynette Wright. I'm asking you to support Jacqueline Smith, and I'm asking you to re-elect me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rod. Francine, do I give it back to you, or?
Okay, I'll take it.
Okay.
Okay, the next question is, in the near future, New York will be required to have 70% 70% renewable energy by the year 2030 and 100% carbon-free electricity by 2040. By then, our power plant will be obsolete. Co-op City will be required to transition to solar and wind power, which are better for the environment. This will probably be very expensive. If you become a board member, what would you propose as the most efficient and effective way to transition? And with that, I'll call first on Mary Pearson.
Okay. First of all, there are other options besides wind and solar. And second of all, it's impossible to upgrade wind and solar to the point where it would be able to sustain anything. There was, they were talking about the fleet of buses. They want to turn them into electric. And it was something like they have enough electricity to transform 1/10 of the fleet to electric. It's just not available. There's something about hydroelectric powers coming down from Canada and some underhanded deal with Con Ed, but who knows if that's going to be enough. We don't even have enough electricity produced by our power plant, and we don't have the electrical system here in our homes to even have electric stoves. And you remember when the building 33, the gas leak, it was right before Thanksgiving and it lasted till after Christmas, and people had to use hot plates and electric things. I had a neighbor in 33 who had to change her dinner hour because she kept blowing fuses because everybody was drawing on electricity to substitute. So it's not going to happen by 2030. Absolutely not. But there are other things. There's hydrogen power. They just have to figure out how it can be a little less volatile. There's geothermal power. You heard about that new building downtown, 50 stories. It's all coming up, the heat from the core of the earth. I have 10 seconds. I ran out of power, so thank you.
Okay, Ezekiel Springer Jr.
That's a good question. You got to remember that energy and sustainability is a national problem. It's not just the Co-op City problem. So we still have to look into the feasibility of wind. We still have to look into the feasibility of solar. We still have to do those things, but we still have some time. So let's look into what the contractors that we are talking to, what they can have in store for us coming soon. We're talking also about solar, putting solar panels on the garages. That's still in the talking planning stages. We still don't know if that's feasible enough. We're studying this. I understand that Co-op City is studying it. We just need to keep checking on the feasibility of those things. But remember, it's not just the Co-op City problem. It is a national problem. Every major city in the country is facing this same issue. So at some point, we're going to all have to talk to each other and see what's best for each city, each region. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ivy Gaynor.
Yes, I'm a big proponent for alternative and clean energy. From what I can see, and I have seen in other places, I've seen solar. I've seen in areas such as on top of garages and wind. The turbines can be encased. When there's a problem, there is a solution. And the solution I see for certain things are that we could have a field of wind turbines. We have enough empty grounds here in Co-op City. And I know one thing for sure, and that is that we definitely have a lot of wind over here. Sometimes I can barely get out of my building. And I mean, if we can scale it down to a size that would be less, that would not be so dangerous or encased, I believe that will help us. But I think that we need to start having some mock trials of those alternative sources, such as the wind and solar. And if we don't put that out there and at least try, we won't know. And don't believe everything you hear about naysayers, okay? If you say no, whatever you say, and whatever you think, you believe, it is so. And I believe we can do this. But we have to start looking and maybe have a small trial run of those two items. Okay, solar and wind power. I believe we have that. Okay, even over there by the water
Thank
park
you.
where it's proposed.
Okay, thank you very much. Next
welcome.
up is Aisha Hernandez Ahmed.
Unmute yourself.
Thank you for that question. Yes, I am really for renewable energy. And my thoughts on this happening here in Co-op City. I know it's going to take a long time in order to transition this from the power plant to the renewable energy status, which I believe that has to be analyzed, right? But I do know that the Natural Resources Committee in Congress has funds and has an organization who is willing to guide us through that process. And I think if we reach out to the committee, they have many ways. As a matter of fact, Chairman Grijalba was recently here in Queens speaking to Carolyn Maloney about renewable energy and other projects that will help the environment. So I think if we just let the experts do the work, the transition is going to take a long time. But I do know that Congress and the Chairman Grijalba from the Natural Resources Committee has his commitment to help at whatever level they can.
Thank you. Okay, next up is Ross Saunders.
Yes, thank you for the question. Once again, this is not a 1-minute answer question. Having said that, let me say this. We cannot do that. This is not about naysaying. We cannot do this with alternative energy. The campus is much too large for that. But the bigger problem is what we need to do is we need to be talking to our elected representatives about amending some of these climate control bills that they've passed. Because in order to shut down the power plant, to stop it from working, to stop it from giving us the electric and the energy we need would be catastrophic to Co-op City. First of all, we've got to rewire the buildings to go totally electric. Second, we'd have to take all of the appliances, all of the gas ranges that we have and make them electric ranges. And in order to do that, that's going to require even more energy than what alternative energy can supply. No. First, we need legislative help, then we need financial help, and then we need to see what else comes down the pipe for alternative energy. But trust me, the new hydroelectricity, that's not going to be for the public. That's going to be for city-owned buildings. The Executive General Manager, Bob Kleehammer, and I, we constantly talk about this all of the time. And I'm telling you that alternative energy, when it comes to powering Co-op City, is not the answer. Thank you. Vote, excuse me, I have 8 seconds. Please vote for the Stronger Together team. Thank you again.
Okay, Monique Coleman.
Thank you for the question, Director Jones. So again, it is definitely not a 1-minute question, and I'm not an engineer, so 90 seconds, great, thank you. I'm not an engineer, so I don't have an immediate solution, but I know that the first step would be to assess our current situation and do a feasibility study. There are already initiatives in New York that give back credits for carbon offsets. So when companies, reduce their output based on, lowering their greenhouse gas emissions, they get back, credits. So, we should start with an assessment. We should try to figure out how we can reduce our expenditures now. We have another incentive. Last winter, we paid 50% more for the oil to run our power plant. And that's an incentive because, if we can use less of it, we can spend less money, So I think we want to, capture any initiative where we can reduce our spending, if we can buy less oil or use less oil, if we can get carbon offsets and get credits for reducing emissions. And, you know, but we won't know that unless we look at our current situation. So we've got to study it and figure out where the leaks are.
Okay, thank you very much. Next up is Jacqueline Smith.
Thank you for the question. You know, with all due respect, none of us are professionals. That's what I think this is a great question, because really what this question is speaking to is leadership. And that's what a Riverbay Board of Director is. The shareholders vote us in to keep our eye on all contracts, all capital budgets, all of that type of work. And that reminds me of the great leadership that I was able to witness by Blossom John on the MTA committee and the analysis that Lynette Wright did and the legislative progress of Rod Saunders. That's the kind of board of director you would want in a situation like this. This is something that none of us, like someone previously said, are professionals. But if you elect hardworking candidates that don't have personal agendas, that are on the board to serve the community, any situation that comes down the pipe is feasible to be successful, like the MTA committee was. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacqueline Smith. Next up is Michelle Marbury.
Thank you for a very interesting question. And Ezekiel Springer was absolutely right when he said that we have to look at different methodologies of this problem. And like my other colleague, Monique Coleman, so brilliantly stated, we need to do studies like we're studying the convectors to see just how much we have to spend on these projects. We are put in all this to be not you know, a jack of all trades, because we are not jacks of all trades. I think that the chaplain Aisha Hernandez was brilliant in saying and saying what she could bring forth to this project and the context that she has. That's what brings us forward. We use our expertise to help our critical thinking, to create proposals and to do studies and to be creative and forward thinking for this community. This is not a national problem. It is a national problem, but it requires federal solutions. And I've already talked with Congressman Jamal Bowman with regard to this problem, to this issue, and he's addressing it and he's studying it, and we'll see how we go forward. But it's already on the table. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. Lynette Wright.
Thank you for the question. As Jacqueline had stated before, there's no one on the call that's an engineer. No one knows exactly what they're doing. These are merely suggestions that are being done. I think that also we have to remember that laws are passed very, very widely and very broadly. And when you're doing that, you are making huge assumptions that someone who is per se a small homeowner is exactly the same as and has the same requirements of that of a large city within a city that we are. And not every solution can be that broad. There's already organizations that are asking to amendment to the laws because of not being able to meet those requirements, and certainly not able to meet those requirements the amount of time that both the state and city are asking for. To go back to the original question as far as that transition period, again, we need to take a step back and think about what are the options that are available. Management already said at the board meeting in regards to solar, that solar in no manner can be able to power here because it doesn't have the supplies necessary. And there isn't a solution at this time because it's not feasible for the amount of energy that we produce and also the amount of energy that we sell. Regardless of what direction we decide to go in, we need to recall that we need to maintain our sustainability and not sell our product and ourselves to places like Con Ed, which will ultimately fall on the wallets of the shareholder.
Okay, thank you. And last of all, we have Blossom John.
We've discussed this at the last forum, and from the reading that I've been doing, because I'm not an expert, but I've been on top of it because I know family members have already started to install panels and stuff. We are in a very unique situation. We have to deal with our legislators because we probably can apply to be exempt because of certain areas here, or have unique areas of wind or water or solar. We saw what the wind would do already, so we're probably not with that. But again, we're not experts. We do need a panel of engineers in here to give us the best course of action and work with our legislators to fight and say, listen, this is what it is. We may not be able to switch over and become exempt like the hospitals and the laundromats that already have exemption. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Okay, the next question, I called on everybody, right? Okay, the next question is, cooperators have complained that they cannot communicate with workers that do work in their apartment because the workers do not speak English. Is there anything that you can propose doing about this? And let's see, we'll call on Ezekiel Springer.
Thank you for that question. The one thing I can think we can propose is to try to work with union labor. Union labor is skilled, they're communicative, they're just better at dealing with us. So let's try wherever possible to deal with union labor, and let's see what happens. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ivy Gaynor?
Yes, I agree with Ezekiel. Unions are very important to have workers because at least they know how to bridge the gap about whatever their workers are not able to do. If they're not able to speak a certain language, I'm pretty certain they know how to send which people into which areas and who they can speak with. So I think the unions would make a big difference on that.
Okay, thank you. Aisha Hernandez Ahmed?
Thank you for that question. I also believe that unions are very they have a lot of workers, and I believe that they can match their workers with according to the needs of the shareholders. So if it's not a hard thing to do. If you know the shareholder speaks English and not Spanish, just assure that your worker comes in and speaks English. Otherwise, bring a translator with you who can communicate whatever is going to be happening. But I think it's very important that the shareholder knows what the worker is doing. And so I support labor workers, and I think they have a majority of a lot of workers that can do that. So I think that's the best way to do it. Match the shareholders with the workers according to their languages, and vote for Spirit of Co-op. We get that done.
Okay, thank you. Next we'll have Rod Saunders. Do you want to answer that?
Yes, so let me understand your question. Was your question about contractors, or was your question about those who come into to work within your apartment?
Those who come
Would you
into
please reread the question?
Let's see. Cooperators have complained that they cannot communicate with the workers in the event they might be doing something wrong or need explanation for something, that do the work in their apartment because the workers do not speak English. Is there anything that you can propose doing about this?
Thank you for the question, and that's what I thought the question was. So this is not about union or non-union. This is not about outside contractors. These are about our employees coming into your apartment to do whatever maintenance work that needs to be done. If there's a problem and there's a communications problem, I would think that the solution would be simple. I would think the solution would be to call up CSO or call up maintenance, let them know that the person who is in their apartment is having, or that you're having problems with communication skills. Can they send over a supervisor so that they can make sure that they get to the work, that they perform the work that you feel needs to be performed, because apparently there's a miscommunication between the two of you. So that's a simple telephone call back to Riverbay to find out what the problem is and let a solution be at hand. Thank you.
Thank you. Monique Coleman?
Thank you for the question. So I support union labor. And I also do not believe that language should be a barrier to employment. So I feel like we should be able to employ skilled workers who can get the job done. You know, personally, I feel like I can hear English through any accent. So, you know, but of course there are people who don't speak any English. I think, you know, equipping workers with a radio that allows them to touch base with their supervisor or someone in the office who might be able to translate could help with this problem. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Jacqueline Smith?
Thank you for the question. I had a similar situation in my house 2 months ago. The people that came to do the work, there was 3 of them and none of them spoke English. So I wasn't able to communicate exactly how the job was supposed to go. So I stopped the work and I took the suggestion, or I did what Mr. Saunders said, and I called the CSO. I don't know what our labor laws are. I don't know how they're governed. But if I was elected to the board, I am all in favor of anybody being employed, an honest work for an honest dollar. However, I could see how that can make someone uncomfortable because you're looking for a certain type of work to be done. I would look into setting up a system, if you know that this particular Riverbay board members' first language is in English, that they go out to jobs with someone who does speak the language of the cooperator in the apartment. Because one of the issues that we're having with the call center, and one of the things that the shareholders are complaining about as we go amongst them to talk, is how many times people have to come out from the call center. So we don't want that to be an added problem to the situation that if the Stronger Together team is voted in to fix the call center, that there's a language barrier. So if someone is employed, that's fine. If we're not violating any regulation, if we know what your language is, we will send you out with somebody that can speak the language of the cooperator so we can try to get these repairs done the first time. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Michelle Marbury?
Yes, thanks again, Director Jones, for a great question, and you know, which I think can be solved with a simple fix. We've spent a lot of time on our call center, and we still have issues with it, but this is one that can be solved with a phone call. And I think that, you know, when these appointments are set up, if we you know, install a system or a standard operations procedure where the call center agent says, what is your language of your first language? And then this way, the person, the supervisor knows, okay, I need to send out someone who speaks only Spanish for this household, or English, and what have you. With regard to with regard to who our people who work in, you know, with forgive me, but with regard to our Hispanic his population, we have a huge Hispanic population here. And I think that, you know, we can service them, you know, so it's good that we have people here that can speak only Spanish, and we can direct them. It's really a simple fix. It's a quality of life issue that doesn't need to be a mountain from a molehill. And that's what I think.
Okay, Lynette Wright?
So thank you for the question. I think that this is something that is quite common that does happen. where sometimes the language of the person that's coming into your home is not, or it's not the primary language of the person that lives in the home. And sometimes that can cause some confusion. In regards to the suggestion that it should be union work, anybody of any language can join a union, and there are tons of unions that have monolingual people that their first language in no manner is English. So that would not actually solve the issue. However, in our situation, the supervisor can solve, as Rod Saunders had stated before. Supervisor has communication already with that worker. So that's something that's easily solvable and something that should be perfectly fine, and that the shareholders should feel the need to do. If you're unable to communicate with the person that's in your home, to ensure, as Jacqueline Smith had said, that the work is done correctly, that there is not miscommunication between yourself and the person doing the work, and that it's done right the first time, we need to be able to work together in order to do that. And that means that the supervisor also needs to be involved in that process.
Okay, thank you. Blossom John.
I have a lot of respect for management, and I know that our HR department knows what they're doing when they're assessing candidates for jobs here. That is a simple fix when we take a big look at that whole restoration department, because before they even go out on a job, the shareholders should know who's coming on the job, and if there's going to be a language barrier, that there's a number to contact their supervisor. I don't see an issue if somebody doesn't speak Spanish going into a non-English apartment. There's a simple fix to fix that. Our HR, we have to look that over, and that's something we want to take a look at as the restoration department, because there's big issues in there, and we know that. Thank you.
Interesting. Okay, Mary Pearson.
Okay, first of all, I think all of our union staff members, staff workers of our union staff speak English. I've never run into anyone that didn't, but we do have a lot of turnkey projects, and a lot of that is the company's hired, they go out to Home Depot and they pick up day workers, so that could be a problem. We also have asbestos abatement. So I don't know what kind of people, what language those people speak, but I know our own people do. I think the suggestions that everyone made about calling CSO and getting a translator or whatever is a great idea. But I don't think we have a problem with no one on our staff, on our union staff. I'm a big union person. I never was union. I drove taxis and I just threw my money away. I was a musician union. I thought I was throwing it away until when I retired, I got $54.55 every month. So now I'm a big union man. But I voted for the hybrid, that we have some union workers and we have the turnkey workers. That's the outside contractors, because we were so backed up, especially with the pandemic, so backed up with unfinished apartments. So we had to hire these outsiders, but we also have our I gotta go. It's 10 seconds. Goodbye.
Thank you, Mary Pearson. Okay, on to another question. The next question is, there has been an increase in cooperators ordering products online and having them delivered. These delivery items are often left in the lobbies or in front of cooperative stores. Many of the packages are stolen. Can you suggest a way that cooperators can get their packages safely? And we'll start with you, Ivy Gaynor. If you want to answer the question, you can. If you can't, I'll just move on.
Well, the only thing that I could think of is possibly when they're coming into the building, getting their packages, instead of leaving them at the door, that they could be left maybe in the lobby somewhere where there are cameras, or that people are allowed, if they want to continue to get it, other than having their neighbors look out for them, possibly installing something, a door camera. Those are the only options that I can think of at this moment right now, but it sounds like a pretty, good question, but maybe those mailboxes that they had before, you could, have them left there also, just coming through Amazon. I know Amazon's got a big problem, because sometimes they don't even let you know that they're there, that they came by, don't even ring your bell and leave stuff there, But maybe if we had cameras in our hallways, right by the elevator that can see everything, we might be able to figure out who these people are that are, picking up people's packages that don't belong to them. It might be a problem for the tower buildings because of where the elevators are situated, but maybe more cameras in the halls. That's all I can think of. In the
Okay,
spirit of Co-op City, please.
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Aisha Hernandez Ahmed, would you like to answer that question?
Yes, thank you for that question. Of course, I'd like to answer that question. I receive packages here on a regular basis. And so far, one of the companies that I order from just notifies me where the truck is at the time of the delivery. But however, the problem with the losing of the packages or people taking the packages, one suggestion is that they can ask the carrier to just leave it at the post office and send them a ticket so that they can go pick it up. That's one of the options. The other options would be to have the cameras. Some people do have cameras and they know, but regardless of cameras, there's people who have, sticky hands and they'll take the packages. So I would suggest a carrier that's going to have a delivery, you notify them that you want it picked up at the post office, or if you order from any other company, there are boxes. As a matter of fact, there are UPS boxes that you can have them delivered. And we have some here at the local pharmacy and Amazon. So the thing I suggest is just to let your carrier know where you want your package delivered or when. And I think that would work for some of the shareholders who are losing packages. Don't forget to vote for the spirit of Co-op City.
Okay, thank you. Next, Rod Saunders, would you like to answer that question?
Absolutely. And I must be very fortunate. We seem to get our packages. We get deliveries often and regular. I haven't had any problems. All through the pandemic, we didn't have any problems. But I'll tell you one thing. I have wonderful neighbors. If the packages are out in front of their doors too long, I'll take it in. I'll put a note on their door. I have your package and they can ring the bell. I think being neighborly like that helps. Amazon, though, goes one step further. When Amazon delivers a package, they take a picture and then they text me the picture to know that I have a delivery. Therefore, if I'm close, I'll come back to the house and bring it back inside. But to be perfectly honest, my building, my neighbors, it's all worked fabulously and I have no problems. And maybe if all buildings or all neighbors begin to help out one another, maybe there'll be fewer things removed from in front of their doors or wherever there are. But I think that it has not been a problem, so I really don't know how to address the problem they're having. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Monique Coleman?
Thank you for the question. I have had packages stolen. I have been at home during the pandemic for the last 2 years, and packages were, I received the confirmation that the package was at my door and it just was not. So I've experienced this too, unfortunately. And I have a great floor. I love all my neighbors, and we do the same thing. We're very cooperative. We bring in packages and, we'll hold them for each other. I've used the technology of all of the vendors that they mentioned. Amazon has their maps and Amazon does take a picture. The UPS has a center in Dreiser Loop where they have lockers, and the United States Post Office has installed lockers in our buildings, and that has worked really well. I would expand the locker program so that for people who are not able to either pick up their packages themselves or have neighbors, help them out, that the lockers are a viable resource for them.
Okay.
More lockers. Please
Thank
vote for the
you.
spirit of Co-op City.
Okay.
Aisha Ahmed, Michelle Marbury, Ivy Gaynor, and Ezekiel Springer Jr. And me, Monique Coleman.
Okay, Jacqueline Smith is next. Would you like to answer that question?
Yes, I would. It's a really good question because it's really the way of the future, the 21st century. I think we'll be doing more and more and more ordering online. And unfortunately, if the pandemic didn't show us anything, we really have to come up with a solution to this problem with a campus as big as ours. And I think a lot of it's going to take creative thinking. We're going to have to go into partnership with our stores. I think we'll have to ask them to receive some of our packages because, like the other person said, I've heard from other shareholders, unfortunately, not all people are neighborly. And in the townhouse area, we're not blessed to have those lockers like you have in your building, but we did finally get a pole. We finally got a bulletin board, and there's space next to both of those bulletin boards. So if I was blessed to be voted in as a Riverbay board member, I would look into building more lockers where packages that are delivered to the townhouse areas have some safe place, because currently what they do is just open up your spring door and leave the packets there. So you could walk through a whole townhouse area and see nothing but boxes. So I would invest or find areas where we could build some boxes for deliveries. And I also think I would go into some discussion with our stores and see what kind of agreement we could have with them. Who knows, there might even be a stream of revenue there. It all takes creative Riverbay Board of Directors, like the Stronger Together team. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Michelle Marbury. Would you like to answer that?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you so much, Director Jones, again for a great question. And I love this question because I am a huge proponent for our building associations. I'm in Building 21, and we have a very functional association. And just think if every building association was active and proactive. And I think Monique brought up a great point about the locker program. Maybe if we could expand that. I always wanted to see in like the exit of the buildings, there's room back there to put more lockers. If they could go across that entire wall in the back exit, that would be great. I got to shout out my brother Theron Marbury, who whenever we go downstairs or we do decorations in our building for the different seasons and whatever, and if he sees a package, well, we were doing Christmas and we saw a package that it was late at night, and we saw a package that we knew that this is one of our elders and they're not going to see this package for who knows when. And so we took it up to them, put it by the door and called them, because like I said, it was late at night. But it's that kind of thing, the cooperative spirit. We are shareholders, cooperatives. We own this property. We have to take responsibility for each other. That's the cooperative spirit. And that's what you want from a board director. Vote for the spirit of Co-op City. Thank you.
Thank you. Lynette Wright?
So thank you for the question. So this is something that even when we were talking about the energy question that everybody is experiencing, this is something that everybody is experiencing, from living here to way more urban areas to areas such as the suburbs. It's something I think is extremely difficult to resolve. I know that cameras are not necessarily the answer, because the only thing that does is allow you to see a crime happening live, and it doesn't get you your package either way. I think even the suggestion of adding more lockers, the issue with that is that only really works with companies that have access to our lockers, and that's USPS, because we have a consistent person that's coming at a specific time. For Amazon, FedEx, for I think DHL, for all the other services, that doesn't work, because you'll have different drivers that done. At this point, besides something like Amazon, where they do have drop-off points for people to be able to go to with a communal, and you can look those up online, you can have them delivered there. That's places like pharmacies, places like Rite Aid, that will be able to do that. The other option, though, is having more community. Besides being a big proponent of the board, building associations, I would also like to go back to a time when we had floor captains. and that there's communication on the floor. My people do that all the time. I have my neighbors go, and if they don't come to me because they know I'm not there, they will go to my neighbor. Or if we see each other's packages in the hallway, we do actually pick it up and leave messages under the door because we understand we want that to happen to each other.
Thank you, Lynette. Right. Blossom Johns, would you like to answer that question?
Thank you for the question. I agree with Lynette and I agree with Rod. I have a wonderful relationship with my neighbors and my building association. Before we make this a co-op city CCPD issue, to me, there's seasons when there's more theft than others. So I would direct shareholders to form, if you don't have a building association, this is why it's good to have one. You work with your neighbors on your floor, coordinate with them, take it to your board president, and try to work something out within the building. There's people now, so many people still working from home and with rings on the doors that could look out for your package. I know the feeling of having medication disappear, and try to go to your building association president, work something out with your neighbors before we make this bigger than what it has to be. That's what I would do if I was on the board. We got to try to save our CCPD staff, the little that we have, not make it a big issue with management. Work it out there first. Again, it's seasonal times, the Christmas time, where you see most of the theft. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next up, Mary Pearson, would you like to answer that question?
Sure. Yeah, I'm sure it happens to some people, and I'm sure it happens regularly to some people, and it's probably inside jobs when it's happening. I'm very lucky. I've never had anything stolen. However, I've had many things delivered to me accidentally. So I always trot over. I got flowers delivered once to the wrong, to Erskine. I don't know if you know how far Erdman to Erskine is, but it's quite a hike. It's beyond the hiking to the garage because it ended up at my apartment in a different building. A lot of people have trouble with all the E's and all the A's and the B's, and it gets a little confusing for deliverers. But I don't think it happens all that often. I think sometimes you think it's stolen and it was just misdelivered. I always get my packages, but I've been a crazy big tipper during the pandemic. Instead of clapping, I give people $5 bills if they come to my door, if they deliver a toothpick. In fact, one guy said, oh, this wasn't for you. It was for a different floor. So you keep it. I don't know if they're home to tip you. So, so I don't think it happens that much. And Alexa, I say, hey, Alexa, what's my notification? She'll tell me if there's a package. That's it.
Okay, thank you.
Do I still have time?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you. I have always wanted more cameras and an array where someone in security is watching cameras. My wife used to work for the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and they have an array of literally thousands of cameras. Sometimes they're activated, light activated when someone walks past it. And I've been told, no, it's too expensive. And I think it's a great idea to do that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ezekiel Springer Jr.
That's a really good question. Thank you. Because a few months back, my sister's package was stolen, and people on her floor in her building named Bellamy Loop have experienced that quite a bit. It would be great if we could actually have more cameras, co-op city cameras, to do that. But in lieu of cameras, I suggest getting yourself a Ring Cam. I suggest getting yourself a Remo Cam. They work very well, and you could talk to people and make sure that it acts as a deterrent, because actually visible things will act as a deterrent. I also agree with my team member Monique Coleman that the locker expansion in the lobbies, the post office has put lockers in our lobbies. If we can expand on that, that would be great, because it's worked wonders for me so far. So far, so good. And Amazon, we're going to have to sit down and talk with our Amazon our local Amazon depot. They're very inconsistent on how they deliver the package. Sometimes they do the pictures. I know some people said that they get the pictures all the time. Sometimes they do it, sometimes they don't. It's hit and miss. We need to sit down with Amazon Depot and get them to solidify how they will deliver their packages to us. Maybe lockers more in Rite Aid, and maybe more UPS lockers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, I think this is going to be our last question coming up. And here it is. Shareholders' lack of involvement, apathy, and misinformation are ongoing problems. What ideas do you have to help motivate shareholders to become involved and to stay informed? Okay.
Excuse me, Reva, could you please repeat that? I didn't catch it really.
Okay, shareholders' lack of involvement, apathy, and misinformation are ongoing problems. What ideas do you have to help motivate shareholders to become involved and to stay informed? Okay, Aisha Hernandez Ahmed, would you like? Oh, here.
That's a great question.
Okay. Oh, okay.
I believe, so in the past, I owned a pharmacy and I wanted to bring in the community into my pharmacy. So I created a membership card. Everyone wants to be a part of something, but there's no acknowledgement. It's kind of difficult to really take part in, but if you have a membership card to be involved in any of the different organizations that we want to promote, I think that's a good way to make the shareholders be engaged. Like a membership card for, let's say, the retirees of Dry Salute, which they're really great and I love, but other organizations and even the different organizations with Riverbay, the Riverbay Fund, if you want to engage more shareholders, a membership card, just with their name and their ID number, give them an ID number, and that will motivate, oh, I'm a member of the Riverbay, and I will be able to joining them on this certain day because they're having certain information that is beneficial to the shareholders. And I think that's a good way to promote participation. That's one of the ways that I did it many years ago, and it worked for me. So I think that we can do that. And please vote for Monique Coleman, Michelle Marbury, Ezekiel, and Aisha Hernandez Ahmed, the spirit of Co-op City. Thank you.
Thank you. Rod Saunders, would you like to answer that?
Absolutely. First of all, I believe that you meet people where they are. So the first thing that I would do is I would upgrade the Co-op City website so that there's more information and make sure that it is accessible to every shareholder. And the information should be information that is pertinent to just about everything that we're doing. Because right now there's a scarcity of information about what's actually going on in Co-op City. Also, we can do the same thing with Channel 591, but that would probably take a production, but it doesn't matter. It's something that should be done. Once you engage shareholders where they are, then the shareholders become more informed. Right now, digital media and TV, cable TV is where they're at, or even the master channel is where they're at. People watch lobby cameras all the time. If you give them the same opportunity by doing a better channel or a better website, they will be there, they will get the information, and they will be better informed. So going forward, if you take a proactive team like the Stronger Together team, which is Lynette Wright, Blossom Johns, Jacqueline Smith, and myself, we can work to get you a program such as that. Thank you.
Thank you, Rod. Monique Coleman, would you like to answer that? Unmute yourself.
Yes, got it. Sorry about that. Thank you for the question. So, I I understand the issue of lack of engagement from the average shareholder. And it's not because people don't care about our community, because, you know, I know most of my neighbors are very passionate about Co-op City and living here. But we are also, we're a middle income community. We're a grinding community. Most people are working and they are, I'm getting feedback. I don't know if anybody else is.
Everybody mute.
We're a working community, and a lot of people have full-time jobs, and, you know, they're just trying to keep food on the table. And so, you know, I feel like unless we give them a compelling reason to be engaged, they're not going to be. So I feel like, you know, the way to avoid miseducation or misinformation is with education. And the way to make education interesting is to give people, you know, information that matters to them. I belong to the Coalition to Save Affordable Housing, and we recently did a financial literacy series where we, you know, did a series about a seminar about how credit works, estate planning, succession rights, income affidavits. We did all 5 different sessions, and we had, you know, tens of people show up to these free webinars because it was interesting. I think Co-op City could do that on a larger scale, you know, either through our
Okay, thank
tools.
you.
Thank you. Vote for the spirit of Co-op City.
Okay, Jacqueline Smith, would you like to answer it?
Yes, thank you. That's a question dear to my heart. I have quite a lot of ideas because that's what we need to do. We need to engage the shareholders again so they could feel part of that they really do own this property. I would bring back the biannual new shareholder orientation. At those orientations, we would invite the Riverbay board members and we would invite the committee chairs so that they could meet and see what's going on. And then we should start spotlighting buildings and townhouse. For instance, at the yearly firework, we should randomly, until we go through all 35 buildings, pick a building out of a hat. And that building is spotlighted at the fireworks. How, I don't know. The creative committee would work on it, and it would give them an opportunity to be part of. That's the kind of stuff that used to go on here when I first moved here. Or at the fair that we have on the Greenway. Every time we have a major event, we would spotlight a building or a townhouse. They could do a play, they could say whatever they want, but it would help people feel engaged. You know, I think that the Riverbay Board has an intricate part in selling Co-op City to its own shareholders and letting them feel that they're not outsiders, that they're insiders, and that their opinions and what they want us to do mean more than anything, more than any committee meeting, more than any legislator. If we could put the focus back on the shareholder, I think it would go a long way. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Michelle Marbury?
I had to unmute. Yes, thank you, Director Jones, again. And talk about engaging the community. Our infrastructure is poised and put together to keep the shareholder involved, but we just have to use it. Okay, every committee, the building association is the crux and should be the heartbeat of Co-op City. And there should be representatives from each building association going to committees, or being a member of a club and bringing back information to your building association. That's one way. So we already have an infrastructure that we're not using quite intelligently to keep us cohesive and together and unified. And that's been a silent platform of mine since I became a board director. And, you know, an example of that is just being involved. I'm president of the African American Association. I started the Section 4 partnership, you know, and all to glorify who we are and the power that we're not using. You know, there's so much more I want to say, but I don't have enough time. But let's start with our building association. Let's get involved in our committees. Let's read the Co-op City Times. We pay for it. In board development, we had an idea to have touch screens along the greenway. These are things that can be done. I'm working on ideas with the IT committee for our digital data to be revamped and how we're going to do that. Vote for the spirit of Co-op City. Hit us in.
Thank you. Next up, we have Lynette Wright.
So thank you for the question. So many weeks ago, almost a week ago, in my opening statement, I had said we've had a lack of communication and shareholders' input is often not accepted and receptible. And my question was, who set that tone? It's the board of directors that sets that tone. In order for there to be openness, in order for people to feel like they are accepted and a part of this community, they need to feel heard. You cannot move on beyond that point. As you notice, even prior to the pandemic happening, we stopped having a large number of our monthly open board meetings. They no longer became monthly and they started to get less and less and less. So I proposed, which I have been through this entire thing, proposing going back to open board meetings in all sections, which includes Section 5, which is often not unheard. The other thing that I would like to do, as Rod Saunders has suggested, is go online. Start talking to people online. Start making information available online. We have a whole section that states specifically that it says board and community organizations, and it's not a hyperlink. It doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't tell us anything. We have more than enough people. We have 47% of our shareholders that are currently using PayLease. So we know that people know how to do this. We have been in a pandemic for 2 years. We know how to use Zoom. We know how to use email. And those that don't know how to do that, we need to be able to support. We have the means of being able to do this. We just need to be proactive about it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Blossom Johns, would you like to answer that question?
Talking to the shareholders, when I say, why you don't join, a committee? Why don't you join, try to run for the board? The biggest complaint is, well, I've applied for committees. I never get called. I never get on. That deters people. I feel like bringing it back to the board. It has to be a better way to open the committees. I understand that there's a limit to them, but maybe some could be a little larger because there are people here that have special interests. There's no committee for them. That's another outreach program for people to draw them back in. I would look into that. The board associations do give out a lot of information, but because we're all on a different time schedule here, it would help to have more openness to the community, an easier way to get on the committees, open up more committees based on people's interests. You can set a survey and see what's missing here. There are a lot of professionals here that will be willing to give their input, but they can't get on a committee. Vote for the Stronger Together team. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next up, Ezekiel Springer, would you like to answer that?
Yes, thank you for that question. As I've spoken about before in other forums, I am a secretary for the Building 32 Association. And through that, I've been able to communicate with my neighbors, my building neighbors. I've worked with the Section 5 Association. Just this weekend, I worked with the Section 5 Association and going around with a petition to try to stop the ramp, the exit ramp here in Hudson River Parkway. As you can see behind me, stamp out the ramp. And going through my building and going through Section 5, it was great to see a number of people willing to engage. Why? Because they saw the passion in me to stamp out the ramp. So when you show your neighbors that passion, they will be willing to engage with you right back. When I was secretary, we did raffles. And one raffle, several raffles, we gave out fire extinguishers. And folks were happy to come to our meetings to get that fire extinguisher. We need to make shareholders understand that they are shareholders, not renters. Ownership is a mindset, and we need to make our neighbors understand that ownership is a mindset, and we need to fill them with that passion of being a part of something here at Co-op City. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ivy Gaynor?
Yes, I have an idea that would probably bring people closer or bring them involved into more community, whereby we can have the committees there, but card parties such as, you know, games, things that'll attract people, some forms of amusement, and then have the committees there also that'll help them become involved and know that these committees are there to support them, such as like the retirees of Dreiserloop, they have theirs, you know, different types of organizations that can show people things that they might need to learn. A lot of people are not computer literate, you know, some people, a lot of people are, but I do have a lot of problems with computers sometimes and my cell phone mostly. But to have people that are there to help you and that can show everybody, each one teach one. You show me what you know, I'll show you what I know. But card parties are a very good way to attract people out of their homes. You're offering prizes, you're offering an opportunity for people to get out and enjoy themselves, you know, like sort of small carnivals or whatever. Those are just some of the ideas that I have that I think we should maybe involve ourselves in and possibly raise revenue at the same time as you're offering these entertainment things. I remember seeing when I first moved here 10 years ago about chess clubs. I haven't seen anything in the paper about them lately, but I'm pretty sure everybody would like to have some place to go where they can gather and be with their community.
Okay.
Hope the
Thank
spirit
you
of
very much.
Co-op City.
Thank you very much, everybody. That was amazing.
Reva, you didn't call me.
Oh. Oh, Mary? Mary?
Yeah, you skipped me and went to Zeke. I know he's a handsome
Oh,
fellow,
okay.
but
I'm
come on.
sorry, Mary. Go ahead.
Okay, people are busy and they are beleaguered, as Monique said, especially more so since COVID. But one thing COVID did do is it brought us Zoom. Now, almost everybody is Zoom literate. I certainly wasn't before the pandemic. Zoom will increase building association attendance once the building associations start enacting it or bringing it in. I know Michelle does that with hers, and I think you said you do that with your Zeke. And I do believe that each building president, if they don't have an account, should be given a free Zoom account. It's only $15 a month, and to increase engagement, I think that would be a very good idea. Now, I live in Section 5, and I've been beating the I want a waterside walkway beautification for Section 5. I've been talking about it even before I was on the board. It's one of the 3 resolutions I wrote in the 4 years. I've signed on to many others, but the 3 I wrote, one of them was bring us a waterside walkway. It was passed, and I was trying to get it enacted. This little walkway will cost us not millions of dollars. I mean, the path is there, the trees are there. The fence will eventually be replaced with big money coming in for sustainability and waterside protection and all of that. But what we need right now is to get rid of the green, because you can't see the water for the green weeds that grow up. And I'm trying to get goats. The section is interested in having this. I got 200 signatures in 2 hours last spring. It should happen. Oops, I'm gone. Okay.
Okay, Mary, thank you. Oh, this was a great forum. And somebody had mentioned giving prizes. We're willing to give a prize to the building association, the building that has the most votes percentage-wise, because the town has been involved as well. So, you know, I think everybody should, you know, start working hard to get their building to vote. Okay, so now we're doing closing statements now, and everybody has 90 seconds. And we'll start with Lynette Wright.
Thank you. So thank you to everyone that's watching this forum, whenever you're watching this. As I indicated back in my opening statement, go to the April 10th, 2021 edition of the Co-op City Times. Follow the money for who supported that 2% increase that you're experiencing right now. And ask yourself if that 2% increase is benefiting you. Are your services any better? Are your convectors no longer leaking? I doubt it, because the increase was never intended for things that you actually need. It was made for a park that doesn't matter. And let's talk about that $500,000 that we received from Congressman Bowman. On his website, it specifically states that the money is to go towards the community planning and design phase of this process. This neither includes any of the development that's involved in this park, nor the fact that it is already in the budget. We need to learn from the evidence of the past and not make these mistakes in the future. To change this course and to go in the right direction and allow a voice for shareholders, please elect me, Lynette Wright, Blossom Johns, Jacqueline Smith, and to re-elect Rod Saunders to the Riverbay Board of Directors. Because once again, Co-op City, we are stronger together. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Blossom John?
Thank you to all the shareholders if you're still hanging in there with us. That means you know how important this vote is. I'm asking you to vote for the proactive Stronger Together team. We will follow how our dollars are spent, ask the right questions, ensure our operating budget and the new refinance capital money is not spent on non-essential items, but going forward, spend it on what it is intended for. The repairs in the convectors, the facades and electrical system, and monitor the expenditures so that the maintenance fees do not have to go up. Vote for the Stronger Together team that will not make false promises. Vote for the Stronger Together team. We will see that the shareholder money is not spent on non-essential projects like the waterfront park. Vote for the Stronger Together team. This will insist on more oversight of contractors and promoting staff training. Vote for the Stronger Together team that will seek out and encourage expert assistance from the community in areas of technology, science, and finance to participate in committees similar to the Budget Committee, which the past few years ago consisted of shareholders with financial expertise. 15 people can't do it alone. Vote for the Stronger Together team. They will not mislead you. We will share the facts, be transparent as possible, and give you the opportunity to give feedback. For instance, not mislead shareholders with surveys, then counting them as votes for justifying building a waterfront. Vote for the Stronger Together team that knows the difference between a survey. Vote for the Stronger Together team.
Okay. Next up, we'll have Mary Pearson.
Okay, I'm going to start off just talking a little bit more about the bus redesign because it was put off because of the pandemic. And it's going to start up on June 28th. The upper areas, section 1 and 2, on June 28th, for the first time since 2010, will have the Allerton Access bus back. It's going to be the BX25. It's the sister bus to the BX26 in section 5 and the Ash Loop area. Okay, then so all of section 1, 2, and 4 will have the, please unmute yourself. Mute yourself. The upper areas 1, 2, and 4 will continue to have the 38 service them. That means that the 28 will not have to service the entire community, which was the intention of the ad hoc committee. They did not want the 38. They were going to let it go. And section 5 would have been burdened by that extra travel time, a half hour to 45 minutes extra to get out to, okay. I'm going to quick say, if you want to know who I'm voting for Monique Coleman. I'm voting for Lynette Wright, and I'm voting for Zeke Springer. And there's one more, and I'm not going to tell you so that the rest of my fellow candidates can assume it is you. I am also voting for myself, Mary Pearson, and I hope my neighbors do too.
Thank you, Mary. Next, we'll have Ezekiel Springer Jr.
Thank you. Thank you, Francine Reva Jones and the Riverbay Election Board. Thank you, Jeff Buss, for shepherding this process. This is my final closing statement. I'm a little sad that the forum process is over. I've learned so much. I want to thank the shareholders for tuning in with their valuable time as well. As Building 32 Association Secretary, I've heard your concerns for several years, often with the exact ones. As far as the 2% carrying charge goes, yes, that happened. But if you look at the rest of New York City, they are experiencing a 4% increase on their leases. That's not us. We got lucky here in Co-op. Don't fall for misinformation. The $500,000 for the waterfront park is already earmarked. That's not capital projects funding. So with my organizational skills, a vote for me and the spirit of Co-op City team means your concerns can be met. Please re-elect Michelle Marbury and Monique Coleman so they can continue the stellar and resourceful work they're already doing. Please elect Coalition All-Star Ivy Gaynor, the influential Aisha Hernandez Ahmed, and me, Ezekiel
Honey,
Springer
you're
Jr.,
on
to
camera.
Riverbay Board, the spirit of Co-op City. Unlike some folks, we can walk and chew gum.
Thank you, Ezekiel Springer Jr. Okay, next is Ivy Gaynor.
Thank you. I want everyone to try and vote. I want everyone to vote for the spirit of Co-op City. I appreciate the work that they have done in the past. A lot of the things that we've gotten so far, the new elevators and the doors, are a result of Coalition to Save Affordable Housing and members that are already on the team with the spirit of Co-op City, Michelle Marbury, and Michelle Marbury, and who's done a great job, and Aisha. No, not Aisha, I'm sorry. And the chaplain, Aisha, she's a great person because I know one thing. She's got so much in her back pocket. But Michelle Coleman is very instrumental. She knows so much about insurance. I know a little about it also, but she's got so much more expertise. And we have to be on top of this because these insurance companies are getting ready to try and take advantage of us. And I think she's going to be able to keep that from happening. Okay. I would like for you to vote for myself. I'm very enthusiastic. I have the time. This gives me an opportunity to be involved with the community. I'm a great listener. And not only that, I will take into consideration all things. And I'm going to tell you something. I have no problem with admitting that when I'm wrong. And if I'm saying something negative, I hope to be wrong. Okay?
Okay,
I hope
thank you so much, Ivy
Little
Gaynor.
Co-op City. Please vote for us.
Okay, next we have Aisha Hernandez Ahmed.
Yes, thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Thanks to the election committee and shareholders. Please exercise your voting rights. We fought very hard for voting rights, so it's important that you do so. My priorities are quality of life, safety, and about affordability. I will continue to advocate for seniors and youth programs funding as I've always done. I appreciate the Building Association presidents for the work that they do. If elected, I will ask for funding from New York City Council, as I've done in the past with New York City Housing Authority, which we're able to get $1,000 the first year, and after that, every 51 council members now funds all the NYCHA developments for their family day. I have relationships to advocate for our shareholders. I just left a Zoom with the New York City Mayor's Office of Faith Partnerships. We have monthly meetings. They announced a $65 billion digital broadband inclusion for digital divide. And the digital divide in USA, also for senior and youth services. I'm the founder of Seniors Serving Seniors. I have experience to represent the rights of the boardroom. I'm newly part of the newly formed SMART committee for a committee here in Co-op City. We are investigating the speeding and the cable monopoly. I'm part of the IT committee, residential and leasing. Shareholders must have direct access to get the concerns corrected promptly.
Thank you, Aisha. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, next we have Rod Saunders.
You're muted.
Thank you. Well, first and foremost, I'd like to thank everyone for their participation, the shareholders for their questions, and the committee for their work during this election cycle. You know, for the past 2 terms, I've held the office of Assistant Secretary. I was the second vice president of the corporation, and I was president of the Riverbay Fund. I've had the honor of chairing the Education Committee, where I founded the Best and Brightest, the awarding our youngsters who are highest achieving youngsters in education. And I've had the opportunity to sit on legislative committee, to chair the legislative committee, where I've taken the time to rebuild, or not even rebuild, but to get together with legislators in a manner that had been unprecedented until I got to that spot. Most important, though, was the work that I did with the MTA Ad Hoc Committee, where I met the 3 wonderful ladies that I'm running with this evening, Blossom Johns, Lynette Wright, and Jacqueline Smith. About 1.5 years ago, I wrote an article about cable TV and that we should start preparing for it then. We're over 1 year behind where we should have been. I've discussed with Assemblyman Benedetto parking Metro North so that it doesn't inundate Section 5 with parking. To continue that work, I'm asking you to please vote to elect Blossom Johns, Lynette Wright, and Jacqueline Smith, and to re-elect Rod Saunders to the Riverbay Board of Directors. Voting has already started and it ends on May 20th. In order for you to get the service that you need, I ask you, don't watch what they say, watch what they do. And these ladies and I have done a lot for you. We will continue to do it in the future. Thank you again. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you very much. Monique Coleman.
Thank you. Thank you to the shareholders for listening, the election committee for all of your hard work in putting these forums together and keeping us all on track. Thank you to my fellow candidates and to my team members, the spirit of Co-op City, which includes sitting board member Michelle Marbury, building secretary, building 30. Sorry. Ivy Gaynor. Can you hear me? Thank you for the opportunity to share my views tonight. Co-op City is a self-ruled, self-governed, and self-sufficient. We may sometimes not appreciate what we've got, but make no mistake, what we have, they are not making any more of. We own real estate. We own this town. It's the best deal in town. Our community is not perfect, but it's more perfect than elsewhere. Affordable housing is precious and it needs to be protected. As a member of the board, I pledge to protect our way of life and fight for affordability, accountability, and autonomy. I want to break up the cable monopoly. I've only just gotten started. Please give me and my team a chance to continue our work. I want to continue saving hundreds of thousands of dollars for you, my fellow shareholders. Please re-elect me, Monique Coleman, and Michelle Marbury, and elect Aisha Hernandez Ahmed, Ivy Gaynor, and Ezekiel Springer Jr. We're the spirit of Co-op City, affordability, accountability, and autonomy. Our future depends on it.
Thank you so much, Monique Coleman.
Thank you.
Next we have Jacqueline Smith.
Thank you. I want to thank the election committee and the shareholders for participating this evening, and I want to thank the fellow candidates for showing up. just a quick little bit about me, because I didn't talk much about myself because it's really about the shareholders. But I'm an administrator, um, an accountant. I have degrees. I served on the election committee. I served on the leasing committee. I served on the best and brightest, which was wonderful because we were honoring our youth. But the MTA committee, that was one of the best because it was wonderful to see the shareholders come together, get along, respect one another's opinion, and then do the work. And lo and behold, we slayed the dragon, the MTA, and we saved the buses for Co-op City. That was a deciding factor for me that I knew that I finally finished paying off my student loans, I could be part of. But if I'm going to be part of, the truth has to be the truth. The question was never answered whether or not, if the water park had come out of the budget, did we need the increase? So what's the question? Number two, we've been out in the community and most of the shareholders are adamant that they want this to go to a vote. Why can't we go to a vote? What is the problem with that? Why can't the shareholders vote on it and put a piece of paper in their rent? A survey isn't a vote.
Okay.
A stronger together team.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And last but not least, we have Michelle Marbury.
Thank you, Director Jones. Thank you, everyone. Once again, I am Michelle Marbury, second vice president of the Riverbay Corporation. Our mission when we are in the boardroom is to be forward-thinking and find creative ways of getting things done. That is our mission. The Coalition to Save Affordable Housing, which gives you us, the spirit of Co-op City, has done that already in acquiring $500,000 for the waterfront park. And we're going after another $2.5 million, and we'll get it, and more funding for other projects, so that you and I don't have to pay. This is what you want from your board directors. The government has made these funds available to improve infrastructure, and when you vote the spirit of Co-op City team in, this community will see our fair share of those funds. In the final analysis, what matters is that you are involved in this process. What matters is that every vote is an informed vote. Now it's your turn, shareholder. You have received your ballots in the mail. You hold the power in your hands. I will be humbled to have the compliment of your vote. Be what matters in this community. Re-elect me, Michelle Marbury, with Monique Coleman. Elect Aisha Hernandez Ahmed, Ivy Gaynor, and Ezekiel Springer Jr. Somos el espíritu de Co-op City. We are the spirit of Co-op City.
Thank you so much, Michelle Marbury. Thank you all candidates and good luck to you. And thank you everyone who's in their apartments and in the comfort of their own home for tuning in to this election forum. It was amazing. You have probably received your election ballot by now, and I urge you to please vote. If you're still not sure about who you want to vote for, you can watch the forums again when we rebroadcast them, starting to, well, it already started, it's probably on right now, on channel 12 and the cable channel 591. And it'll be on for several hours a day and several hours at night. Please, please vote. Don't delay. Vote today. Thank you very much. And good night, everyone. And if Jeff Butts would like to say some closing remarks, we offer the floor to Jeff.
Okay. Oh, thank you so much, Francine. I would really like to thank all the candidates for taking this time out of your own personal schedules, showing so much dedication and enthusiasm for your community. And I'd like to speak to the shareholders for a moment. On Monday, we had all of these elected officials here. We had the head of the United States Senate. We had the governor of the state of New York. We had your Congress representatives. We had the governor. I think I mentioned that already. And what was it that most impressed them? The perception and the understanding that this community votes and that they needed to pay attention to you because you vote. So please show that you vote for your own personal destiny. Turn out and vote for whatever 5 candidates you think. They're all great, dedicated individuals. You should be really proud of your community. Thank you for allowing me to be your attorney, and I hope everyone has a wonderful evening. Thank you.
And happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. And
To
thank
you.
you. Don't delay. Vote today. Thank you very much.